Hey friends, and welcome to day 5 of Rest and De-Stress. Congrats, you made it this far. I think this is just such a huge accomplishment during this time of year, so really take a moment to give yourself credit for continuously showing up to this and setting aside that time for yourself. I hope it has helped a little bit through this busy time of year. And since April started this challenge with a card draw, I figured it would only be right if we end it with one. So card we draw today we'll focus on for our affirmation. And I am picking the Fool, which is 0 in the deck. The journey of the tarot begins with the Fool, an optimistic risk taker with boundless, unbreakable creative spirit. Likes freedom, adventure, and fresh starts. Dislikes logic, rules, and other boring grown-up stuff. When the Fool pulls up and honks his horn, you've been given a great opportunity. So abandon your fear and other limiting ideas. Hop in the car and see where this delightfully naive ride takes you. And the affirmation we'll work with today is, I leap into the unknown with reckless abandon, trusting that a great new chapter is waiting to unfold. Reckless within reason. Let's not be crazy. We're all adults here. So I'll work with that a little bit throughout practice. And actually today we are going to use one prop. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead and grab a block. Or if you don't have a block, a pillow can work. I just want you to be able to support your pelvis a little bit. We're gonna be in a yogi squat for the first pose of this class. But before we hop in there, let's start in a seat. Take your sit bones to the mat. Sit up tall in your spine, close down your eyes. Steady breath in through your nose. And a soft sigh out of your mouth. Right away, tapping in and noticing quality of your breath. So as soon as I say that, likely that you've changed your breath in some way, shape, or form. It's only a natural response. But instead of judging whatever breath has arrived, or sometimes we just come and the breath feels tight, it feels tough to take a big inhale. And that is also okay. We're gonna be here for 20 minutes and my hope is that by the end of this practice, that breath comes a little easier. You can blink your eyes open and then start to make your way. We'll start up in a tabletop just to get ourselves into a yogi squat position. And you'll need your block or your pillow or whatever you're going to use to prop up. And if you've got really open hips, maybe you don't use a block at all and you can just sink in, but just be aware we're going to be there for 2 minutes. So take what you need there. So we'll move into a tabletop, just a moment here to kind of feel into your wrist, feel into the full surface area of your hand. So all 10 fingers, the length of all 10 fingers, pressing into the mat. You can rock a little forward, rock a little back. Tucking the toes back behind you. We'll just lean back and find a gentle toe stretch. So sit back onto the heels, just enough. We'll press into the palms, kind of spread your shoulder blades. Tuck your chin in towards your chest. If the feet have been in shoes all day, just kind of notice if there's a lot of tension or maybe you've had the great opportunity to be barefoot and you're feeling good. Just taking a little note. And then rocking your way back to a tabletop. Not for long, I promise. We're going to tuck those toes, lift your hips up high and back and find a down dog. And while we're here, why not pedal it out, bend one knee, bend the other knee. Scanning toes to nose, just checking in with the body, full length of the body. Start to, nice and slow, crawl your feet up to meet your hands. And we'll take the feet as wide as your yoga mat. Toes out, heels in. Drop your bottom down and find that block, that pillow, something to sit on here. And once you land, you can take a couple shimmies in the hips here, pressing the hands together at your heart and then pressing knees into your elbows, elbows into your knees. We'll find a little action here before we settle into that yin-like quality where we are done with the work. Last little wiggles in the hips, pressing in the hands. And then you can choose to stay just like you are, so keeping the hands together, but no pressing at this point. We're just kind of hanging out here, leaning back just a little bit onto that block so that the spine stays long. Or my personal favorite, you can just take the arms out, let them rest, elbows on the knees. Palms stay open. And gentle breaths in through your nose, out of your nose. Right away, starting to bring in that affirmation of taking risk, of opening up a new door. And before we make judgments about whether this one hits for you or it doesn't, just keep an open mind. Start to notice maybe a chapter is ending. No matter where we find ourselves, no matter what phase, we have all these doors opening and closing almost all the time in our life. And it is the end of the year as well, so a perfect moment to just check in and notice if there's something that's got to go, or something new coming in, something arriving that we've got to make space for. Scanning in now, lower belly, and noticing any gripping of your jaw. And as I'm sitting here, my hip flexors are wanting to grip. They're wanting to pull my knees in towards center so they collapse. And I have to kind of work to relax that space. So while we call yin the opposite of work, surrendering is work. It is action in a way. Take one more breath here. And we'll just find that block, scoot it out from underneath you. So now you're in that true yogi squat here just for a moment. Take your hands back behind you, find your bottom on the mat. And then the toes go out. We're going to stay in the hips for this whole entire practice. So next pose we're getting into here is a wide-legged forward fold. And I want you to take the version that actually suits what you need, right? So if you're really tight in the hips or tight in the hamstrings, bring your heels a little bit closer together. You can be here, and this is a great place to start. As long as you're feeling a little bit of tension here in the hip flexors, I'm fine if you're there. But find your depth here. And then another great place to use a pillow or a block. You can just start to crawl your way out. Finding your sit bones, pulling the hips back, and then starting to reach your forearms or fingertips towards the ground. And I want you thinking here, we're hinging at the hips, and then eventually this is our yin pose of a wide-legged fold. You can round your spine. Your chin can tuck in towards your chest. And then scanning in right away, backs of the knees, fronts of the knees, toes, ankles, fingertips, elbows. Using that as your guideline. Your little point of scanning to notice if the body's holding tension. And then settling in here. 5 more long breaths. And the moment the mind starts to wander, just bring it back to your breath. The moment that we notice we've lost our presence, we've been distracted, is the moment we become present. So if you find yourself getting lost in frustration when you notice the distraction, reframe that. That is the moment you decided to be present. Last breath, and then start to press into your palms, crawl your hands back. Think about stacking your spine all the way up. So it's tailbone, and then lumbar spine, thoracic spine, your head, your neck come up very last. Take a rebound breath through your nose. Exhale breath out of your mouth. Coming out of this gently, bend your right knee, and you can take your right hand behind that knee, guide yourself. Bend the left knee, use your hands, and then start to make your way eventually back into that tabletop. So you can just roll over to the front of your mat. Find your way into it, and then slide your right knee towards the front. We're coming into pigeon on the right side of your mat. And again, pillow underneath the right hip can be helpful. Blocks for the forearms. Anything you can use to kind of give yourself a prop. Eventually wiggling those hips side to side, finding something of a middle. And then dropping on down to your forearms. Settling your breath and awareness into your right hip. Nice and slow, start to press your way up with the hands, straightening out your elbows. And then just sliding your right knee back to meet your left, finding yourself back in a tabletop. Taking a moment to just feel the spine reset, and noticing right hip to left hip. The subtle differences, the sensations of openness in the right hip. Once you feel like the body's back in balance, you can slide your left knee to the top of the mat. Take a moment again, rock a little side to side. Letting that hip know where we're about to go, and then dropping down to the forearms. Settling the breath in the left hip. One last breath here. And then just start to press your way up. Sitting into your left hip and then swinging that back leg up and around to the front of your mat. Slowly coming on down to your back. Right away, you can go ahead and hug both knees into your chest. Take a couple rocks right and left. Noticing the pace at which you move the knees around. Slowing yourself down like you're moving slow motion. One of the reasons I love Yin practice so much is that it truly has taught me that slowing down is the #1 way to regulate the nervous system. So it's not just like here on our mats, it's like when we're walking from the car to the door, when we're shutting the car door, when we're brushing our teeth, when we're brushing our hair. Like there is often a franticness, like an energy that we're just moving so fast. So use this as your reminder to slow everything down, not just your yoga practice, it's off the mat as well. You can bring your feet down to the mat, and then whether you're on the mat or not, I just want your feet wider than hips distance so that the knees can knock in towards center. Take your hands to your belly. And we'll find a couple rounds of vocal toning. It is one of my favorite practices for relaxing in the vagus nerve, activating the vagus nerve. So we'll breathe in through the nose, big deep inhales, and then as you breathe out, the lips stay closed, tongue comes to the roof of your mouth, and it's just a all the way out, as long as you can stretch that sound. We'll take 4 rounds. Big inhale breath, breathe in through the nose. Keep the lips closed and take a big breath in. Last one here, breathe in through the nose. Keeping lips closed. And then just bringing your breath back to its usual pace, its usual cadence. That vocal toning felt nice, or it's your first time trying it, I highly recommend just experimenting with it, especially around this time of year. Otherwise, to close out our practice and our whole entire challenge, bring your hands together, thumbs to third eye. Find a moment, gratitude, resonance, compassion for yourself, for showing up, for being here, for prioritizing that slowdown. We'll take one last breath together. Big inhale through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth. It is truly such an honor. And from my heart to yours. Until next time, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace.